Hi, and welcome to You Drink, You Learn. My name is Dirk Schulgen, and this little podcast, which we're going to do in English today, upon a request by a lot of you guys from my network, is about networking. It's about spending time together, learning and listening while having a drink, like we used to do in the old days when we would meet with friends and colleagues in a bar or in a cafe and chat after work about successes, obstacles, things which work, which don't work, and then we try to help each other. And the idea of this podcast is pretty much the same. So I invite people out of my network. We talk and we chat, and I hope that we're going to learn something from each other. Today, oh, by the way, did you realize that we have an intro? We have a jingle. This is new. I'm so excited. I always forgot. So this should bring us into the right bar mood. And a big thank to Christian Dissel, who um, actually composed the little song for us. And you're going to hear it now each and every time before our podcast. But now to our guest today. It's a good friend of mine, an ex-colleague, truly European citizen, I have to say. She's French. She's married to a German, but as a German, we won't hold this against her. She has kids. She's, for me, a role model, and we're going to talk also a little bit about role models. And she is the VP of sport goods at Cybex, a company. Oh, well, she's going to talk a little bit more about this. I can't explain it. But we know each other from Nike. And again, she's a great inspiration, a challenger, and always a good person for a drink in a bar. Welcome, Anne-Laure Bigot.
Thank you, Dirk. Thank you very much to do it in English because normally we speak in German together. But today, as I thought, it would be cool if more people from you and my network can have a look. We do it in English. So it's not our natural thing. Yeah, super happy to be here and super happy to hear the music. That's what I was telling you offline when I listened to the jingle. Not only it sounds like, oh, I want to go to a bar, but as a very cliche French person, I sometimes do smoke, yes. And it also gave me like, oh, I'm trying for a cigarette. But yeah, I can't do it at home. So I'm going to be a very good girl.
Okay, so let's see if I have to change this podcast to an 18 plus podcast because it becomes more about drinking and smoking. And right now it's not, but hey, feel free, right? You're at your home, you can do whatever you want. But so cool that you're taking the time to be with us today. And I really, really appreciate it. And also a little change to the podcast we had before. We're giving us a little topic. So thanks again for everyone giving us feedback or giving me feedback on the podcast. And you can always do that feedback at youdrinkyoulearn.com. I really appreciate your notes. And a wish by some people were, hey, how about we love your exchange, but how about you put emphasis more on a couple of topics. And I talked with Anne-Laure before, and the topic we came up with, which pretty much fits the time I think right now, is fueling change through inspiration. So this is something we want to talk today about. But as always, we start with a drink. And Anne-Laure, I told the story Anne-Laure before. I'm in Austria right now, and I had an Apfelsaftschorle, which is like an apple juice soda spritz, because I wanted to do non-alcoholic. Then I listened to the music and I had to change my plan and mixed myself good old-fashioned. I used an orange Angostura bitter, which gives us a little bit of a juicy flavor. And Anne-Laure, if there would be a place, I would love to have this drink with you right now. Um, it's in the city of Cologne, where I always like to host you, and in a bar. I think we've been there more than once. In the Little Link, it's a beautiful cocktail bar, and a very great owner who's very creative and inspirational with his cocktails. And this is a place I would love to sit with you right now and have a drink. So before we cheer, what have you prepared? Do you have a drink, and where would you love to have it with me right now?
So I have a drink. I have a white wine. You said it, I'm European, so you would expect to have a French one, but actually it's a German one. It's the
Ooh.
Silvaner from Franconia, because currently I'm living in Franconia, so I support the locals, you know. And interesting that you mentioned this bar. Actually, this is where we had this party with the marketing team at some point, this little bar. This
Yes.
ended up so cool. I still have a souvenir from this evening, you know. So because what happened, I just make it super short. What happened is that the owner of the bar, it was late. I don't remember when it was, but it was late. He came to me and said like, "Oh, apparently you're French," and I'm just like, "Yes, I am." And he said like, "Oh, I got this book, and actually it's all in French and so many pages, and I cannot do anything with that because I don't speak French." So he told me, "Should I give it to you?" And I was like, "Yes, but I don't know what to do with that." And it was a book about cocktails. And then he gave it to me and say like, "Oh, take it because I can't read French." And I'm just like, "Okay, thank you very much." And start like looking at the book. And on the first page of the book there was his picture. And I said, "But it's you." He said, "Yeah, I wrote the book." And I said like, "Come on, why didn't you say that?" So it was a very nice one. So I still have the book to this day. It's a very good cocktail book. So
Yeah, I
thank
have it
you.
as well I think in English or German. Well, and where would you want to have the drink today? So do you have a favorite bar or restaurant?
I have two options, and I thought about it, and I decided to go to Cologne, and not because I have a favorite bar there, but because I haven't been to Cologne forever. And I can remember we had a few evening in 25-hour hotels together, and in any bars, monkey bars. But we had also one in Cologne when we spoke about, I don't know, everything possible, and it was really like what we do right now. So I would like to redo that and be able to have a drink with you in the 25 hotels
Well,
in Cologne.
great to have you. Cheers to good
Cheers.
nights out and good talks, and to the little link and the 25-hour hotel bars. Cheers.
Ciao.
Ah, Anne-Laure. So,
Finally.
it's a really good one. Um, Anne-Laure, for the people who don't know you,
Mm.
which might be some of them, can you give us a very short intro into Anne-Laure as a person, who you are, how did you become the Anne-Laure you are today, and what have you done in your career? Just a very short intro.
Mhm. So, as you mentioned at the beginning, I'm Anne-Laure. I'm born and raised in France, but I'm living in Germany since almost 17 years. I moved to Germany for very classic reasons, being at the same time the job and the love. So I always used to say that the anecdote is that in the same week I got a new job in Germany and I was pregnant. So it was a big week, but so far so good. It works out. I was able to manage both so far. Um, I started my career in fashion, working for Esprit, so a German brand in France, working in sales. And after that, I moved to Germany, pregnant. They didn't know by then, but then they heard about it, to work for Adidas, where I work in product, and did a bunch of cool things for Adidas Originals and collaboration, etc. I was in product by this time. And after working for Adidas, Nike knocked at the door, exactly like you. And you know, when you are at number 2 and number 1 knock at the door, I said like, oh, it sounds like a pretty good idea, which it was, because I stayed at Nike for 11 years, working in different departments from merchandising. So at Nike, it means everything that has to do with product assortment and this kind of stuff. And it was a new function, so they needed to create it, and I helped to create it. And then I worked in sales for marketplace transformation. This sounds like a robot, but it's basically this whole key city strategy thing. It was a new function, they needed to create it, so I started the job. And then I started in marketing, working together with you. And in different marketing things like retail marketing and category marketing, all this kind of stuff, and doing some funky projects like opening a big Berlin store and this kind of stuff, which was pretty cool actually. And at some point, I decided that moving to Europe or to the US was nothing for me. So I used the opportunity of one of the numerous reorgs to jump off the train and left Nike. My last role at Nike was women's GM. So they created this function, and they decided that they need somebody to create the job for the country, and that's what I did. And I left Nike in 2017. Then I did a bit of freelancing, doing some crazy stuff like for example, an Asian pastry cup in Singapore and this kind of stuff. And then I got
Which I still follow on Instagram, by the way.
Yeah, but the poor guys, I think like the global pastry cup and all this kind of event is kind of complicated right now,
yes,
unfortunately. And yeah, then Cybex knocked at the door, and Cybex is a nursery brand. So basically what they produce is everything that you need for your lifestyle with your kids. And they have a very special positioning because they position themselves as a brand for parents. So it has a lot to do with, okay, not only the quality of the product and the safety, but also everything that has to do with design and positioning in fashion. And this is the way they operate, which is pretty new and pretty unique on this market. So, and I'm doing that for more than 1.5 years now. And that's me, basically.
Ta-ta!
Ta-ta!
Well, thanks for the intro. That you did a lot of stuff. And trying to lead to our today's topic a little bit, fueling change through inspiration. That meant a lot of change, right, in your life. You moved countries, you moved jobs, you moved roles. How does Anne-Laure and change, how does it work together? Does it coexist? Is change driving you? Are you driving change? Do you need it? Is it something which tires you? What does change mean to you?
So change means a lot of things. For me, change means, for example, pushing the boundaries. And that's why when we were talking a little bit offline, we were talking about inspiration and what inspiration means in this all change things. And to me, this is something that is super, super important. So I'm very inspired by people that are challenging the status quo, that are doing some new stuff. And you can have those people everywhere. So it can be in art, it can be in sport, it can be in business, it can be in everything. But, like just not, one of the sentences that I hate the most in my life is that this famous sentence, so we have always done like this. I can't stand that. I hate that because this is to me like, okay, so now die. This is what it means. So
it doesn't mean you don't make a difference, right? You could just leave because
pretty much
they know how to do it. Full stop.
They know how to do it. we always done like this, and after that, yeah. But and that's why I love changing, and I love pushing the thing, and I love being inspired to do that. And as we were talking about this a little bit before, I was saying like, okay, why is change such an important thing in my life? And what I realized is that once I had a coaching, and the person told me, are you a starter or are you a finisher? And I love this question. This question just changed, like this type of question, you just click on your mind. And this was one of the key questions for me. Like, are you a starter or are you a finisher? There is nothing wrong in both. And they are both important in every process that you have in life. But clearly to me, I'm a starter. So that's why, as I told you, when I recap my career, I was somebody who started new jobs. Like, okay, let's try it. I don't know how it looked like. Nobody knows how it looks like, but we can just start this. And this is how I did it. And now I got inspired by a lot of people to try to do that my best so far.
Yeah. So can you explain a little bit, because it's a great sentence. What do you mean by that? So starting, finishing, can you explain it a little bit further?
Yeah, so basically what it means is that when you think about you as a person, is it in your life, is it in your career? Are you more the person who kickstarts some processes? So, I have an idea, I'm going to start something new. So you get the energy, you get the kick.
Yep.
when you start something new and you want to do that? Or are you more the person who gets this energy kick and this satisfaction when you finish something? Okay, I've made it. I make a tick, and now I'm done.
Okay.
And I said, in every team that you have, in every situation in life, you need those both poles, I would say. But I'm definitely somebody who gets very excited by new beginnings.
So you're a starter.
Definitely.
And how did it affect to be a starter on your career? Because as a starter, then, if I understand you correctly, you are a person who want to start things, you want to try things out. You are driving change.
Mm-hmm. So
How do
being
you do that? How did you do that?
first of all, just to give you a few examples, I realize, you always realize your career or what you have done backwards. So you just do it, and after that you think about it, it's like, there is a pattern in there. And the pattern that I realize is that from the very beginning of my career, I always started jobs where it was a job creation. So when I started working for Esprit in France, I started working as a key account manager, etc. And very quickly, they offered me an opportunity saying like, okay, we're going to launch the kids line in France, and we need somebody to launch it. So to do the consumer research, to know like, where do we sell it, how, and etc., etc. So basically, they created this function and they gave it to me. So that was the very first one. I was in my 20s something. And then when I moved for Adidas, basically what they needed is, and especially for originals, is somebody who will start doing some apparel with Foot Locker. And Foot Locker, everybody knows, if you know Foot Locker, and I think it's pretty well-known brands. When you enter a Foot Locker store, you see a lot of shoes. So when people say like, we're going to do apparel, everybody is like yeah, whatever. And I
make money with shoes.
We make money with shoes. Yeah, but shoes have a less good margin. But yeah, so and there is
that's why they sell cleaning and soles as well.
And socks, and do you want a pair of laces with that? And yeah, exactly. And there was somebody very nice who offered me the opportunities. They're like, okay, apparel, so you just make apparel with Foot Locker, and it worked out well. I had a very great team back in the day, and they created an apparel line that was super successful, and that lasted far after I left Adidas. So it was a great one. Or if I think about Nike, I was hired to be a merchandiser. There was no merchandising function at Nike, so they created a merchandising university and created merchandisers in the country. Same thing for Key Cities Transformation, all this kind of stuff. So I'm not afraid of starting new things, and starting might be dirty, starting might be not very organized, because you just need to create the process and create the job. But this is something that I really do like. And to be very honest, this is also something that corresponds to me very well, because after a while, I get bored.
So some people happens. Some people would also say this is entrepreneurial, right? Because you are the person who drive and start new things, not by per se the person who finishes it, but the person who drives it. So when is the moment? Is it the moment you get bored, when you feel it's time for change? Or what? It doesn't mean a new job. It can be anything, right? Or is it opportunity driven?
This is very opportunity driven. Basically, this is about seeing what is possible. And in my life, I had the chance to have really, really good managers and really good mentors. And one of my mentors one day told me, you have done a lot of jobs and a lot of function and companies and countries, blah, blah, blah. And basically you have one red thread, and this red thread is a consumer. And this is something that is super important to me, because I realized you can do everything if you look at people and listen to them, really, truly listen to them. And then you see where are the opportunity and how you can impact the life of people. And that's why it was, for example, even if the business model is very different, changing from sport and fashion to nursery felt quite nice, because actually, now I target mothers and parents. Before I was targeting teenagers. But this is about that. So it's more opportunistic than getting bored. If you get bored, you're already over this moment. You should have left before, basically.
Yeah. So you've been, you are, and you've been a manager, a
Mm-hmm.
leader.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you said, a good team is probably not just they're not just starters in the teams. You have to have finishers. You have to have different personalities. But how did your team members get along with your relentless change driving, or opportunistic, um I don't know, do you know what I mean? So how did it work as a manager and a team? How do you, well, first of all, maybe you have examples on how did it work, but then second, how would you recommend people to take teams along this ride, to go on a change?
Basically, I would say um, two things. As you mentioned, in the team, you need to have starters, but you also need to have finishers, because otherwise you start a lot of things and never get done. And at some point, it's frustrated for everybody because you don't get results. So getting results is an important one at the end of the day. So you need to have people, and this is what is super important for me, to have a variety of personalities and backgrounds in my teams, just to have the people who say like, yeah, we start something new, or in the other ones saying like, oh my gosh, and then having some other people saying like, okay, so I finished this up, this is prepared, here is the package, and you're like, oh, thank you. So I really appreciate that. And what I do personally, but this is managing is always very personal, is that I try to take people on board with me with inspiration and really understanding where are their strengths and how can you manage those strengths. So when I talk about inspiration, that's what I mentioned before to you. I had a chance in my career to have really amazing managers and mentors who really helped me to focus a little bit, because also when you are a starter, you see opportunities everywhere and butterflies everywhere. So you need to have somebody like, whoop, like focus a little bit, otherwise you get nothing done. But also people who open some new windows in your mind, I would say. And I was surrounded by this type of people, and I tried to do that also with my team. So really being very close and communicate a lot. And maybe bring some example of things that people wouldn't expect. I don't know. I love art, for example. I love some artists. Like I am a great fan of a woman called Marina Abramovic. So I don't know if you know Marina Abramovic. She's a
No.
performance artist. Um, and to cut a long story short, because performance art is something that a little bit edgy, but to cut a long story short, she's somebody who is pushing the boundaries of everything. And she's very, very well known, for example, for a performance called The Artist is Present. And she did that in MoMA in New York. And she would sit all day long just on a chair, and you would sit in front of her, and just she would look at you in the eyes. And
Gary.
it's incredible what it creates on people. Like if I really don't say anything, I sit here and I look at you in the eyes. And she was like explaining, people start being a mirror for somebody. So people will start crying even if you don't say a word. It's really a very, very emotional thing. And these are things that to me are super inspiring. And I try just to share it with people, say like, hey, check this. This is amazing. And the same in business, saying like, hey, have you seen this, have you seen that, and just trying to inspire people. This is the first thing. And the second thing, to get the team on board, is also to realize that you need to listen to what matters for people, and where they get their fulfillment. I'll give you an example of what happened to me once. There was one of my teammates who did an amazing job, and I wanted to really say thank you to this person. And what I wanted to do is during one of those town hall meetings that you have very often in the company, to get her on stage and to say like, hey, she did that and this is amazing, and having people clapping and etc. And I told her before, hey, I'm gonna hold you on stage because you did such an amazing job. And she was like looking at me and like, you don't dare to do that. But really, she was dead serious. Like, if you do that, I'm going to kill you. And I realized that actually I wanted to do something nice, but it was not the way to reward her. Like, rewarding her worked another way. So, and you need to know the people you work with if
Hmm.
you want to also to reward them and to say thank you in the right way, because bringing those girls to the stage would have been the most terrible thing I could have done for her, even though I wanted to do something good. So it's, yeah, it's a little bit the way it works, like inspiring and really listening to and bringing your team on board in the ways they need to be brought on board.
So, in what are you trying then by inspiring people? Is it to help them start thinking about new ideas, about, I don't know, observating and taking observations into their life and build something out of it, or just to broaden their mind? So what is the key driver for change through inspiration, do you think?
I think there are two or three things. The first thing is, as I told you, identifying what your team need and what the strengths of your team is. What are they good at? And
Yeah.
really making sure like you put the right person on the right spot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, if you are a born goalkeeper, making you a defender is actually a bad idea because you never succeed. You're a born goalkeeper, so you need to be on the right spot. This is the first thing, and for that you need to talk to people to understand what they do well, what they love to do, and etc. This is the first thing. The second thing is also to there is a say, and I really believe in that say, you manage by example if you want it or not. And I really to try as best that I can to live by that. Means also trying to be an example and to be also as human as I can. So I'm not better as my team. I'm just one of them, and I try to be open and to communicate and to be transparent as much as I can. And maybe sometimes also to show some ways. I had a very good WhatsApp today, actually, a little anecdote. Somebody I worked with at Nike just got a baby a few days ago, and as I'm working in nursery, like I prepared a package a few weeks ago, like, okay, you're gonna be ready.
Knock, knock, knock.
Exactly. And she sent me the WhatsApp today saying, hey, I got my baby and thank you so much, and etc. And I was super happy for her. And I remember we had a conversation back in the day. When she was telling me, to me, you're a kind of role model because you have kids and you're a mother, but you're still a leader. And how do you do that? And I think I need to make a break to have a baby. And I was like, whoa, 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 young lady, we need to have a talk. You don't do a break before you have a baby. You do a break when you have your baby. You don't need to stop the train. You're a very successful person. You just don't need that. And having this conversation and being seen as a role model as a mother is very surprising to me. But I think it's also a European thing. Um,
Yeah, in the US, probably a total different point of view. It's like
absolutely,
normal,
absolutely.
but I wanted to talk a little bit more about inspiration, but I now you've touched that beautiful topic about role modeling. And I said earlier, you're also a role model to me. And it's, I actually thought about if I could say it, but now that you mentioned it, I, I've seen a lot of models or different versions for women becoming mothers and working or non-working at the same time. And I think we're lucky that enough that we live in a country and in a culture where you can pretty much, there are a lot of different versions, even with a legal protection, which is great. So you can, take a break, you can start, come back slowly. Um, and I always promoted any of these, maybe a little different than you, because I said it has to feel right for you, whatever, if you become a mom, whatever you think is the best. And we will find a way to get you back on your career path. So you should never not thinking about becoming a mom because you think this will stop me having a career. But you've been to me a role model because you've been managing it so well to me. So having kids, you've been like this, and I hear what that you're doing a lot of stuff with your kids when you talk about them, that you care, but at the same time being this inspirational and successful leader and manager. and it shouldn't be worth mentioning it, but I still, you know, feel like I need to, because I think you are a role model by doing that, because you are showing what the variety is for, again, you know, everyone can choose what their path is, but you're stretching it to one side, which I think is really, really good. And I applaud you for that, not judging the others, but that's something which I always felt you're doing really well.
Thank you very much for the compliment. I think no, but I think there is two aspects in that, or three. The first one is as old-fashioned, I would say, as it sounds. There is a cultural thing about being mom and being parents. I'll give you an example. In Germany, you have a special word for bad moms, Rabenmutter. So this is a concept. This is something that exists. In France, you don't have a word for bad mother. It doesn't exist. So this concept doesn't exist. And it takes a lot of pressure off mothers, because, you can be good or bad mother. There is no good or bad. You're just a mother. This is the first thing. But because you can be a bad mother in Germany, there is a lot of pressure on women in Germany to be perfect, which is actually not possible, as we all know. So I think the way I live my life is a little bit original in Germany. I would say it would be much more common in France. This is the first thing.
Yeah.
The second thing is also what you want as a person, and of course what you have as a surrounding. Is it your partner, or is it your family, or is it your friends, or whatever? And I'm very lucky to have some great people around me. So thank you to my boyfriend. By the way, I'm not married. You said I'm married, but to a German. I'm not married.
Sorry,
I'm
yeah,
living in Thiem since ever with a German guy.
I apologize.
No worries. No worries.
You're together. You're partnered with a German guy.
Yeah, exactly. This is the other thing, and the last thing, and I think this is the most important one, is you should know what feels good to you, and not listen what people think is good to you. And this is a pretty general thing, but
I agree.
I can tell you, when I got my first kid, and it was quite a long time ago because he's almost 17, I got to hear so much bullshit, but so much bullshit about people that had no kid, by the way, because they always know better.
Of course,
That
like me.
just, no, I don't think you would have told this kind of thing, like I hope you wouldn't have said like, oh, you made kids and now you're working, so how do you expect them to be raised? And I'm just like, I got working parents, I'm still alive, what the fuck are you talking about? So but yeah, just making your way through things, and then just when it's right, it feels right.
I
And
think it's an amazing, I think for every leader, it's a good reminder that you are an inspiration to people around you just by living the way you live your life, just by the way you are. So it's that's why I always, promote, be who you are. Otherwise you won't become a good leader, because you will not be able to be yourself. You will always think, oh, I have to be this way, I have to be funny, I have to be this or that. And people will, they know it, they will know it, and it will very hard for you to build trust with your teams, and very hard then to work together, especially in tough times, especially in times of change, because change is not always the fun time. It's not always the great idea which pops up in Anne-Laure's head because it's opportunistic. Sometimes change is also economically driven, or because we have COVID, or and change can be very hard, and pressure, there can be a lot of pressure involved. So Anne-Laure, when you think about this sort of change, is there any difference how you lead in these times? Let's say, I don't know if COVID affected you, but let's say you have to act because there's an economical difficult situation, or your project is in risk, and you have to change things. Is in a tough time where decision has to be made, is that different than to you?
So first of all, to put things in context, I'm a pretty lucky bastard. So I changed
Cheers.
industry. Yeah, cheers. I changed industry a little bit more than 1.5 years ago, and I changed from the sport industry that is very also driven by what you see on TV and in the media and etc. That is less happening right now. For the nursery industry. And guess what? COVID is not a problem for the nursery industry because babies are still coming to the world. And actually, when I see the number of friends of mine that are currently pregnant or about to get a baby, I think, yeah, being bored and locked down at the beginning of the year was a nice thing for everybody. So,
So the future of your company is safe.
so far, so good.
Good for you.
So basically, I
Well,
work
you've
in an
been in
industry.
tough times. You have been through reorgs. You've been through
Exactly.
change, which
So
was pressed on you, and it wasn't your choice. So, what changes then for you?
and to me there is two things. The first thing is your um, I said it before, when it's right, it feels right. Means when you know you take a decision or you have to take a decision, you I don't know, you feel it in your guts. It's kind of cliche saying that, but this is really true. When you know when you have to think about it 20 times and convince yourself and etc. Normally this is not the best thing. So I'm trying as much as I can to trust my intuition, because most of the time I was lucky enough that it didn't say anything bad. Um, this is the first thing. And the second thing, as a leader, I tried more to over communicate than under communicate. So, for example, during the COVID lockdown, what we did with my team in starting a daily workout. So basically, we would just have a Zoom every morning. I don't know, 20-minute max. And if we don't just need 10, then it's just 10. And if we need 30, then maybe we can extend a little bit. And just to check on everybody and being sure, okay, are we all cool and is everything all right, and the family and etc., and just preparing the day together. So as a hurdle, basically.
Yeah.
And we started this, and after the first lockdown was over and we were back in the office, I said, like, okay, should we keep that or should we just come back to a weekly team meeting? And everybody was like, actually we can keep it, kind of. So we've been doing that for quite a while right now, and
Wow, on a daily base still.
on a daily basis. And I think we are seen as the most integrated team in the company just for that, because we just are so on, we know what everybody is doing, we are on the same page, and we just march as a team. So I don't know if it is always possible, and when the business accelerate, it will still be possible. But so far, it has proven to be a good one. Just being very transparent and communicate. Because to me, the worst thing that can happen is not knowing. Because then everybody starts the, as you say in German, Kopfkino. Like thinking about something and doing assumption, and then most of the time assumptions are negative. So I don't want to leave room for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been to a LinkedIn Live talk last week with a friend of mine from Porsche, and we had live questions coming in, and there were a lot of questions. Actually, this is also, we came to this topic today, a lot of questions about change and leading teams through these times. And we talked about one thing which I realized, that it's super important to still have these. There are no coffee breaks. There are no chit chats at the coffee machine if you're all sitting at home, because everyone is so focused on work, and meetings, at least in my experience, became much more. They need to be short and crisp, which is right for meetings. But usually, before a meeting starts, you would have these 5 minutes of, someone is coming late, someone is having. Oh, my dog is just starting to dream. It's funny. We will hear some weird sounds soon. But these 5 minutes of, making fun, the presentation is not run. I don't know, and it would this weird moment of these 3, 4, 5 minutes. Who would have thought is super important to get teams together. So if you were able to replicate this through your daily morning huddle, great. great, because I truly believe it's super important to keep these moments of chit chatting, of making fun, just listening. How are you? Um, and that's super important, at least in my opinion, to lead through change, because it will bound your team together.
Absolutely, totally. It creates this. It's like in sports basically. If everybody hates each other, no matter how hard you train as a team sport, and no matter how many times you repeated the exercise, you're gonna go on a pitch and you're not gonna win because you're not bonded. And this is one of the job of coach, for example, of big teams or even of individuals, is just to bring people together and to make sure they work truly in harmony. By the way, I didn't know if I mentioned, but I'm not a sporty person. This is notorious, even though I've been working in 15 years in sport
You've been at
industry.
Adidas, you've been at Nike, you're now the VP of what? Sports?
Sport goods at
Sports
Cybex.
goods?
Yes, I'm not a sporty person, but I love sport because I love the values of sport. And talking about inspiration and talking about change, this is something that I adore. Like, I don't know, I think that athletes and coach and sport values are so this is such a great fuel for change and to changing. I don't know if you have seen it on Netflix. There is this series called The Playbook, where you have coaches talking about how they coach basically.
Mm-hmm.
I just loved it. I love it. I watch all the movies about athletes and players and yeah. That must be one of the things, like leading through change. You need to be a team. I'm a coach.
So you need to be a leader, you need to be a team, you need to inspire. We've been both at Nike, and I don't know how about in your other companies, but what happened, I think at some points in my job or in my career, and I think this was for all of us. Our job was to also to inspire others who, um, not just their own team, but I don't know how we built this endless journeys for product people coming over from Portland, for the VPs of whatever, for the CMOs, for the board members. So amazing people we digged out in Berlin, for example, to talk to us. The strangest stores who could inspire, the most interesting consumer story we try to find, also for us internally to inspire and to motivate. Are there things in your head out of that time or of others, which inspired you the most, or which are still stuck in your head, like things you've seen or helped to organize or were organized for you and inspired you?
they I was lucky enough to have a lot of these experiences, but I think there are two or three that stuck in my head. One of them was with I was women's GM at Nike at this point, and there was one athlete who is a long distance runner. She's running, I think, 100 meter or something, and it was uh, just after a very big track and field event. I don't know, European Championship or World Championship, something big. I don't remember exactly the context. And in any case, I got the chance to have a chat with this person. And what was uh, uh, I was very impressed by her. And the reason why I was impressed is that, as you know, athletes train years for those big events. So she has been training like hell and etc. And she started the race, and it was really going super well. And somebody in front of her just stumbled and fall down, and she stumbled on the person and fall down as well. And somebody came after that and just with a spike, I don't know, just hit her on the knee and etc.
Oh my goodness.
So basically, the absolute catastrophe. And I had seen that on TV live, and I was looking at her. And at some point, she gets up and finished, like humping like that, finishes the race.
Ah.
And to me, that was so impressive to see this will of, okay, it's not gonna be the race that I imagined. It's not gonna be what I wanted to do, but I'm gonna finish it. So starter finisher, she's probably a finisher. And it was very impressive to me. And I got to know her a few days after, and we were in my office, and I started talking to her and saying like how much I was in front of my TV looking at that and being impressed. And I started crying, and she was feeling super uncomfortable because I was like, oh my God, and I'm so impressed by you. And she was like looking at me like, what is happening? But this was, like talking to this person
She
that
didn't
was like,
realize because it was so normal. It was in her genes.
yeah, she for her to, she finished the race. And
Yeah,
to
an
me, this
athlete.
is such an example of strength. This was absolutely impressive. And maybe another thing where I had goosebumps very recently, because through my job right now, I get in different sport networks as well. And I got to know two person, a guy with Paralympics, how do you say that? Jumper. It doesn't jump high, it jump far.
Pole
How do you say
jumping.
that? Yeah. So he's blind. And you were just explaining how he became blind and with the age of 8. So, we were just in a Zoom meeting like you and me right now, and he was explaining how he became blind and how his life tremendously changed at this moment, etc. And fast forward, he becomes a gold medal in Paralympics. But hearing the story, you get such a goosebump. Or I got to know a guy with a guide runner. So basically, he runs with Paralympic athletes that are blind, and the athletes and the guide are just linked with a little tiny thread with their little finger, and they run together. So you need to run as fast as the athlete, as the guide. And when you hear the guys explaining you how they bond together to make sure that they run together and finish a line together and run in times that, crazy times, this is so inspiring. And this is something when you say like, okay, I'm here with my little problem, and this guy just helped a blind guy to run faster as whatever. And you're just like, okay, this is crazy. And this is really inspiring. And this is what push you forward. Like, wow, this is amazing. I want to be like, oh, I love that. I love
Cool.
sports.
Well, thanks for sharing. It's great. Uh, I I'm super thankful by your stories and what you've changed about what you shared about inspiration, how you use inspiration to fuel change. You mentioned how important the team is, how important it is to know your team, to be transparent, to be yourself, to over communicate, especially in times of change. I loved, again, as a reminder for myself, the starter and finisher anecdote, because it's really good to ask yourself this question: are you a starter or are you a finisher? I enjoyed, and thank you so much for being honest and that we could talk about this a little bit, this discussion about motherhood and work and how you combine how different versions there are, but you follow a certain route, and by doing that, you can say you're a role model. So thanks for being willing to share this, and for me, it has been a great chat about change and inspiration. So thank you very much, Anne-Laure.
You're more than welcome, Dirk. It was
Can
a
I
pleasure to me.
can I ask you two more questions?
Let's go.
So the first question is a question I like to steal from you. It's a question you always ask, and now you know which question it is.
Oh, I think I didn't prepare this one. Shit. But yeah, maybe I'll go
It
for
is.
it. I
It is a
fear I know it.
question. I've been to a lot. Well, as a manager, as a leader, you're in a lot of job interviews, and you shouldn't go into job interviews just yourself. You at Nike, at Fondov, at EA, we do it in groups, and so we can discuss what we've seen, what we've learned about the candidate, and play ping pong when it comes to questions. And Anne-Laure always asked a question which I really liked, and I've stolen it actually for a lot of my interviews. It's the question at the end, and your question at the end is, which, oh, I hope I get it right, because now I'm doing it in English. Which question have I forgot to ask you? So if there's a question you would wanted me to ask, because you have the perfect answer, you've prepared it, and it's something which tells about you and yourself. So which question have I forgotten to ask? And then the person would hopefully come up with a question and also with the answer to the question. And I really like this style of ending an interview, because it's a fun end, and you always learn a lot about the candidate. So you're the candidate now, Anne-Laure. Which question have I forgot to ask?
So let's make it really job related. So maybe you can ask me what I am the most proud about in my career path or in my job life or something like that. That would be the question I would have asked. Loved you to ask me. Let's say it this way.
So, Anne-Laure, we've learned a lot about your career path today. You've talked about the roles you did. Is there something you're particularly proud of in your career?
Very good question, Dirk.
Well, thank you. Delighted to hear a good answer.
Damn it. I didn't prepare for this one. I should have seen it coming, actually. Yes, there are basically two things I am proud about. The first thing is when I get feedback from teammates that maybe I help them in their path to go a little bit forward. I think to me there is no better reward ever. Like I don't to say I don't care about the bonus is wrong. I hope nobody from my company is hearing, but this is the best kick I can have. And when I get some people that I really do admire, because sometimes I really do admire my teammates, and they come back to me and say like, you changed this and that, there is nothing better. This is the absolutely best reward that I can get. So this is one thing, and in life this is the same basically. And the second thing I am proud about is to have changed, to come back to the topic, a lot, and even changed my own image. Means, for example, this year or 2020, so last year, I did something new. I've been contacted by a person who was studying with me in France, and she told me like, I need a challenger in my team, because I want to create a network for a female sales leader. And the first thing was like, sales. I've never had or just a little bit of my career at a sales thing. And I said like, okay, let's try this. And this is one of the most exciting things that I've been doing so far. So by the way, women in sales friends, if you want to click on LinkedIn, but this is having changed my self-image from I'm a marketer to, hey, no, actually I'm a leader. And in sales, I can also do some stuff and then manage some stuff. I'm proud about this one. That would be the two ones.
Great, thank you. And actually, the second answer you gave leads me to my last question, because my inspiration for this podcast was also to inspire and inspire the people in my network to use the network, to collaborate, to talk to each other, to share thoughts and learnings, and also questions. So I have always the same question at the end. So if people who listen to this out of my network were thinking, how could Anne-Laure help me if I have a question? What would be topics to send her a message and ask her? What is something you could give to the network? And vice versa. Is there an obstacle in your way right now? Is there something where you would like to shout and, hey, if someone knows something about, ping me on LinkedIn? It's my last question.
So the first one about what I can offer to your network, you mentioned it at the beginning of when you presented me, and you say like, yeah, Anne-Laure is a challenger. which is something I never realized until people tell me. But if you need somebody to ask you the tricky questions, if you are not sure about your decision and you want to discuss about it and have the tricky question. I love to ask questions to people. So don't hesitate to talk to me. Also, if you want to talk to a female leader, I'm here. So I'm happy to have a chat, because yes, sometimes it makes a difference to talk to a female or to a male. So I'm happy to do the female part. And on the question, if somebody from your network can help me, I think I would love to have the same to have inspiring people that challenge me as well. Basically, what you love to do with people is pretty much what you love to receive. So if there is somebody who tells me, like, you know what, I can help you to grow even more, I can ask you the tricky question, just say hello. I'm happy to have a chat with you.
Great. And everyone beware, Anne-Laure knows and asks tricky questions, and she's brutally honest. I think it's a great mix. And you can just ask the tricky questions if you don't hesitate to go into that in that field which hurts and which is needed sometimes. So super cool. Thank you, Anne-Laure, for being with us today.
That was a pleasure.
Thank you for your time. And everyone, I hope you have a great day, great evening, or whenever you are listening to us. And like always, if some ideas come up to your mind, if you have ideas, use the comment field or just send an email to feedback@youdrinkyoulearn.com. Have a great time, stay safe, and we talk to each other soon. Bye-bye.